malungil tutaw mera vekel laadel sabri loreng sergider elal tutaw mal loreng asulir no sabri cho energider tial toxiorgid el momsada tora climate change. So tara hotel flow issues el kidar other belau mablul other rogira face ringi tial issue ra tora climate change. Misal baby ra time gado setiang amal flow problem egitar other belau other ageril belu maltan dia angaral se edrulil gora mongo sugit ding ngarngi ayel se edrmul el gukmo sugit mo wad gora mos bedel mongil el dil longel tial issue ra climate change melal sil se ngarngi to ubetsel okyagargit el nganga Clela Carl Mcguinness ngang aurora the Nature Conservancy ersel global program ra climate change ngang sel mal lurerel ngamot mokringi awa sel waseng dum karang yol uspe natural solutions el deal with the climate change ma taitor niya global natural climate solution director enganga based ra New Zealand enganga mlerbe lawling agim kwa mirura workshop lo untir adra media el nesoa del gora waser da kadu kora provide information that for climate change el mora media mo o kuk tora mo ngil understand that for climate change and maybe help pertir se report igal issue ra climate change mlongi la meeting ra card ma media nigim gor ondas lo asesin seng gigang artiang imna mo brexel workshop lo ngela media el may maduk share baby regal information lo trira other belau tigel sabari lo reng sergi tial talk show maktingul mertiang mek askra card mal Gora tell us why Sergida atlete a little bit about himself ma tial lurera TNC tial lurera tora climate change makmo ongwa kuktun over to him ngukoro why Sergida a little bit about himself ma tial lurera Nature Conservancy ma lurera tora climate change.
Okay. Thank you, Yim, Ali, everybody. Carl Mcguinness, I'm based out of Wellington, as Yim said, and I've worked for the Nature Conservancy. I've worked for 10C, as we're known, for 6.5 years now. And my job is really looking at globally how can we use nature to help address the challenges we're seeing currently through climate change. Prior to joining the Nature Conservancy, I worked for just over 20 years with the New Zealand government, primarily with the Department of Conservation.
Carla, man, I forgot. I got comment half na masal ko oras sa
TNC, 6.5 years, government 20 years.
Carla hanggang makatatalo tial Nature Conservancy el tiagi del celulare la wagi tilunga sangora magaranga dos pe a natural solution sa igel gora dingaring irgid part ra tial environment irgid el gora ngosugida tora climate change au era bolora the Nature Conservancy Carla ulura government ra New Zealand el ngara 20 years igel gora ulura tora environment.
And a little bit about the Nature Conservancy. We're an environmental NGO, charity organisation. We've been around for just over 70 years and we work out of 77 different countries and territories, including having an office here in Palau, as you'd be well aware, Yim, and about 5,000 employees globally.
Carla, I was a Nature Conservancy, kita ngania obis kita ngar belau, andi tiang ada ngar belau tial the Nature Conservancy urur ablul adrogir. Mlamo 70 years operate ngara 77 countries all over the world. About 5,000 other other nature conservancy. Elang mama kuk other sel officer belau akala kuk other sel global team based in New Zealand.
And while I work with the global team, and we have a big organisation, we work as a single conservancy, and that means we can draw on all of those staff. The 5,000 people, we can draw on their knowledge, their information to all support the work we're doing, and that's a real strength of the organisation and one of the reasons why I'm here with YIM today.
Akala wais lo sa TNC global organizations and beto kakakaroos lobbies ringira kakakaroos bulablulat ding tiyan nature conservancy umrar selo as one conservancy ang beto kakakaroos lobbies ura kakakaroos basura blulat ding one agikma kaloro maldum segid am nos edel ngakar ng New Zealand del merbelaw awase kadulu spera adra climate change من سبقين من سيدل ngilul merbelaw segid el one daigel luldas el gimo bangara nature conservancy ase kada ditang one conservancy kada ditang aureret من سيدل gaing seu mo se kada ngar belaw access tigel rogul el expert ra ku kakakaroos el blablo at abodos pe anges en sebaril me ko ngosugit magida ko tira ka sa edel ko mo regal bebira blue bebira program ko kol masera gel uror tira mok.
And the way we work is really in partnership with local communities, looking to understand what their needs and challenges are, and then looking at what might be some really pragmatic solutions to help them achieve these really tangible and lasting results around the conservation and climate challenges they face.
Esel ayel urol so adal motmok la kadabl ol urol ora open tria adra blue maya ayel organizations ayel blue yakadamong partner lomen tri emru urol a nature conservancy di aldos kadime edigil kuk tigid emru urere kadabl ol kor urol partnership lomen tria community ma adra blue emru urol esel mal ora soada rulia wase ngel meaningful eklo impact ring soada urere dal ngarnya ututlel ngarnya bolgot makling ngarnya bol relil mongos trira adra blul ligidam ru legal urol gidir.
And we tackle climate change in three ways in our organisation. One area is that we know we need to look at how we might be able to decarbonise or reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. We know that's contributing to global warming, so we have a group that looks at renewable energy. Then there's my team, and we really look at how we can use nature to also store carbon and address climate change. And we know that even if we moved away from fossil fuels right now, we still wouldn't address climate change. We still need nature to help us. And then the third area we look at is while we are doing those long-term changes, there are impacts on communities right now from climate change. So we looked at how do we support communities to adapt to those so they still have good livelihoods and we're looking after the environment.
So the Nature Conservancy role gila la tora climate change wal ngospe atril teletal ako tensel wase decarbonize kada magarang mo kegrel mo kada magarang mo edel mo reducer tial maknitel yol tel do tobdring tial carbon dioxide le climate change al dum maklor problem maklor carbon dioxide dol tobdring mang ako tas kada magarang mo o reducer segi del carbon dioxide dol tobdring ya ongerung awase kada magarang uspe a nature el provide solutions so sel ngangel gora solutions lo hace do nature as el direct ngosugi del malartial carbon so kada reduce ra oltodra carbon e maybe magarado uspe a nature ngosugi del malartial carbon mo de ngara atial melitiul and then is el number 3 awase a climate change aman namoklo التملي المرابلو من أدرابلو مغد مغران يول مسير أدرابلو من سبريل أضابط المرا تغورا climate change.
And a little bit more on the team which I lead. Our focus is on natural climate solutions. As I mentioned, this is really how we use nature to address climate change. And we focus on areas like forest management, grassland management, wetland management, and crop and agricultural system management.
So Carla order sel timra Carla sello geros pe the natural solutions المراتورة climate change menganga semgrado uspe oreomna forest alubeng wagaburs malubeng seagrass agal ar malubeng tora sers magrado uspe aigigi del ngorango sugi del el deal with agal tora climate change. Alright, so man saula Carl seguram le introduction ringi maurerel ela haduk mobile mora قدم لا start ngam sada climate change nding askra hal was kam kora ndi al sal mogmat nding gora di o ay sirgid wase ngara tial tora climate change ngara ul mangaring tial ngara mangaring climate change ya aunda swing en close to tlel gora the mokabur selling sel baby that time ngari adrom das wase I guess in other gal this is el andin ngari other gal sal lo das wase tial tora climate change amral tokoy so this other gora o aisa tora climate change se tianga andia gal gora diudo suela da stal ada cloa evidence ngari au ul wase al dumum la morngi tial tora climate change.
When we talk about climate change, we're really talking about long-term shifts in temperatures or weather patterns. And these can be natural sometimes, but what we do know is that since the 1800s, we, humans, through our activities, have been the main driver of climate change. And that's primarily been through the burning of fossil fuels, so the likes of coal, oil and gas.
أنا سأسأل لو صار تورا climate change ندي هذي لو صار هواي قاعدين الآن والآن أقلوه نقول دوسن climate change تورا climate change سل دو مسرا long term سل جماعة التايم يقدو مسل واسع تيال climate عملا change weather ما climate عملا change ندي هذي لو سأل الآن أقلوه الآن next month so say سل دو تورا climate change يقدو مسا يجيد long term or مقامات التايم البالوريا change سيل دو مسر سيرا تيال بلو الأدر سيرا 1800s الآن 2024 تيا سيرا 1800s while back يقدم له سيجي يقدم له start الواسع أدر تيال كير تيال بلو الأدر له start legal activity سرتير contribute المورا تيجي التغير climate change tianga basically wasing mal klol wagil tilura earlier mal klol tial liol kit liol dol to dringi carbon dioxide mumlamo ulem mlamo change climate trouble at iganga mal cost tiagid el kit liol tsel do spe igale fossil fuels arwa alu marwa coal igid the burn provide energy igay klol carbon dioxide tial mkit liol talol to dringi maiya malu ule mal tial tora climate change sangaringi.
And the reason why the burning of those fossil fuels contributes to climate change is because they release greenhouse gases, and the greenhouse gases act like a sort of blanket over the earth, and they keep it warm, and I suppose that's why it's called a greenhouse gas. So it acts like a greenhouse for the earth, covering it and increasing the temperature of the earth.
aldum يجيد اللو رواي قال fossil fuels aldum cosa climate change سيل دو سبي يقدر release carbon dioxide قال carbon dioxide أول مرة كن release المرة مليتيول أول كابر تيال بلولات من سيل كابر تيال بلولات سيل ما سيلس ما سوبي تيال بلولات التيال ايجا المكنيت اللي قلت الكربون دايوكسيد هو الترابر ايجا الكليال ده التيال بلول مالدوم التيال بلول هذا مرا الموم غيال ده ببيرا هذا تو سي جرين هاوس افكت دي واك جرين هاوس سيل تو جرين هاوس دلجيد ام غيال ده السيل لسيل ساسويس بين تراب ايجا الكليال ده السيل موم غيال ده ايجا المكنيت اللي قلت الكربون دايوكسيد هو يسمى والكرا خبر التيال بلول هذا ترابر تيال كليال ده مرغدي تيال كليال ده التيال بلول هذا هو القادم مرا الموم غيال ده.
And clearing land and cutting down forests can also contribute to climate change. Trees store a lot of carbon and they also pull carbon in from the atmosphere, so when we lose those they can contribute to climate change. And really we're looking at the likes of carbon dioxide and methane as being the main greenhouse gas.
Sel direct el cosa problem direct el sel doluga oreom ماني جل مكلول اليوم رابلو الأب الأذى ملوغ القرى ممرولا سيرس ملوغ التو ممرولا غرام يجي سل التوجن ديرك المال مكلو كربون دايوكسيد التوب ده يجي جد المكنيت اللي قلت أديرك الميثان من ديرك المكنيت ديرك الأفكترا ديرك الكربون دايوكسيد الكافر تيال الأذى رولي الممغال دي أيجا الدلوم اللي أيجا أوريقدر تيال الكربون دايوكسيد ملار تيال مكنيت اللي قلت أوريقدر نجي تيال دال تيال دلوم مثل التوغا دلوم إن تو things موديا لولار تيال الكربون دايوكسيد موديا لولار تيال مكنيت اللي قلت إديرك الموديا سئل أورغدي مالدوم من ديرك المكلو التملي تغرق climate change سيل دولو يقال مقلول لوريوم بلولا.
So we know climate change is real. We know that humans have contributed to it. We're warmer now than any time we have been in the past 100,000 years. And really there's no other explanation for it other than the contribution of humans to that, which can't be explained through natural causes. But there are some things we can do.
So kadam dingel wase climate change amral toy ngaringi ablul ada has been amral mum gayalda for the last 1,000 years it ya ablul ada mal di amral mum gayalda agel tor omsu marang amla otil wase tiang mal clol problem gida albangaringi diesel awanda tol gora أديك السيلو صادة توا climate change ديك الكورة والمسوقي ده واسه ngarinya atol se edel remove المسوقي ده يجي تقول climate change إلا قدم لامو سقدنا صادة تقول climate change ما واسه ngara ul mangani tel تقول climate change إلا قدمو بالقرى مرا سنغرا يجي القرى impact الجيد أو مصر بلولات أديك لو مصر بيلاو لتيال تقرأ climate change سيل دو صادرين اللي عدل سن دي عدل لكل بلاو السيل بلاو مقدم الفيرنيم بيردوك مو سبندا تريب التام القرى مساعدة يجيد الإمباكت على climate change رابلو الأد ما مرابلو بلاو.
Often we think of climate change as meaning warmer temperatures, but that's only the beginning and really one part of the story. And that's because the Earth operates as a system, and when you change one part of the system, it can influence changes in other parts of the system.
Seldo o sada tokora climate change kada netinga se mali misil inclua impact ngi selbe bilen direct le adom das se mo impact ngi lendi almura tial blul ada wal gora aigel klangar ma aigel gora tletele la aigel تلتيال بلول هذا سنس affectra partner ني إنجوك سبيل affectra another partner ومال بتوقع وايجي الغرا impact.
And the effects that we're seeing globally, and you'll be seeing here in Palau also, are all too obvious to us. I suppose it's the increasing severity of storm events, the rising sea level, in some regions increasing droughts, increasing wildfire. We've got the melting of the ice caps, and there's also declining biodiversity.
climate change rabulul adal direct do misr belaw Aigel clear kasi aigel maral mom gal W man mom CC aigal Yolt aiga direct lu ulang mo to access to ka blur other ilang mat klo problem ringi access lamo gal W direct maral mo ngarba batolo aigel impact sa edro miserable other direct sa edro miserable.
And in Palau, a report produced by the Pacific Islands Regional Climate Assessment has shown that the sea level is rising, that the ocean acidification is increasing, and that the average temperature in Palau has increased. And that's meaning that we're having more hot days and fewer cool nights.
Omsub milgat mok lo misrab lur belaw o mesagir rogul garos lo omsub namgat mok rablur belaw ultabda report wasing raigel gora impact ra climate change rablur belaw ma abelaw amal di manamum galda sel mo mesagel silsil magalda belaw manamum tok Michael Mlesil المغلغول تاع سل كلوبسي أمرال موم قصاي سو سل ملوم سم بتوقع التايم مال الغرا دي مغال دكون اسل بابو كلوبسي منا موديع الغرا لا موم قصاي التايم الغرا مال المغلغول تابلو أديرك القدوم سرير بلا واسين ملامو هذول أملامو غرباب sera before di na sa mga babadol ang lamo tungkol time man mga babadol direct ocean acidification sel dulo aseng wal ko lamo mo mi madaw direct bela wal ko di maral mo mi madaw ring.
And this report has forecast what some of these impacts might look like for Palau, and in the marine environment it's likely to mean more frequent coral bleachings, bleaching events with varying levels of severity. It'll put pressure and reduced subsistence and commercial fishing stock availability. They're estimating a 20% decline in reef fish by 2050, maybe up to 50% decline by 2100. And along with climate change, it brings the potential for disease and invasive species to put pressure on the native species aquaculture operations in Palau.
So la sel domes agel wase domes agel to climate change in Mirbelau adungura da wase because emral momgal da da en mobto agel time legal miranda amo al momgal da da mom madam miranda sel qadi po ele amranda el mat agya predict lo se mobto le because etiel da wa dimral momgal direct was allora al mong imral modia angigel aigal ngigra arger amral modia 20% decline and by 2100 mo up to 50%. So dito ko climate change long was imral modia aigal ngigel because at climate change.
And it will also have impacts on the land and with agriculture and the agriculture sector. The increased pest and diseases may impact on staple crops like banana and taro. The changes we'll see in soil salinity through things like storm events and wave overwash and saltwater intrusions will create challenges for taro and other plants that don't like the salty nature of the soil. And another thing which may be not quite as obvious will be that the global food market in Palau's reliance on imported food, you'll see some shocks and stresses come through based from climate change impacts on food supply, which will affect imported food price and availability over time.
أقول بس الملغورة سيجي الإمباكت را طابع ديريك المارين سيل واسموكلوا تقلل الورق ملسوم قدم رولا روا غورا أقوى كالتشورين وال غورا maybe موكلوا تقلل الورق تيال من المير إيجال من المير بلو من ديريك الوايسي من ديريك أدورا بلو إيجال دلوم لقيدا ديبندونا because atlet tele la climate change موكلوا الورق المورا إيجال دلوم له direct mo ani impact al sumang mo clodol e mo clo a dablo la baigal mo clo a ayol tlo la baigal dablo tura blu e aigal sersa mo algo ra mo roro direct mo affecta the lom and then etia de adil walgo ra di affecta aigal modu ra blur belau ablul ad rogina direct mo affecta the lom rablul adam tiasel vol waisea pigo seguida la galeda ikrel belau togol galeda do la ikrel belau ara la gal lamral momrin la aral so even don dia dolal maigal de lombre belau tigel malal maigal de lombre ikrel belau a mobtoga problem ra del malir ma magal de mangrang mo momrin la ara la gal la bol do mesring lo ase pigo sa togora climate change en malal momrin la aral قدمو بالمورا قدم لاس ما دا سيجاجي دا جيل غورا impact را غورا climate change رابلو الآت ما مير بلاو سونغراي جيل غورا سيدر مولو what can be done غورا سيل موسوجيد سيجيدا بدو صادرين الإعلام.
Yeah, I'll just start with the broader global focus and linking back to what I'd mentioned before. So certainly decarbonising our energy sector and moving to renewable energy is one of the key things we need to be doing. But we know that's not enough. There'll still be a gap. So we do need to use nature and those nature-based solutions for climate to help bridge that gap. And as I mentioned, the adaptation approaches to address the here and now impacts that we're feeling.
So, agile del good McLean, number one, asilo asik magrang ngaray gel tol sa edremul lol ngosugid lol ngas gartial carbon dioxide gid oltob derni so agel loriol sa edel lo misli la ya gid el wasik dos be renewable energy agora let's say was solar anything sa edel ngosugid el wasik da more reduce aus be edra egal fossil fuels mo garel تجد المكيت اللي قلت هذا التوبدري so say atara asa edruli au ngerung eselo ase kad magrang e uspe a aigal ngar ngirkit lua aigal wa burs mar wasi grass ma oreom el ngosugid el deal with aigal tora climate change es el final seguir el tora adaptation au ase o ingire del lo sigarolele o lengas ratial makit del tobdringi ingire de lo sigro semgrado uspe a nature ngosugid ndi gal impact el gida al bangr el time magrang gada adapt o magrang gada rulid mo mosb edel el deal with ay gida el tora climate change el gida o mesel el time.
And whilst Palau doesn't contribute significantly to climate change, it is feeling the impacts of climate change currently. But there is something you can do to make a difference and to improve the livelihoods of Palauan communities.
So kita other belawa matagi kare belu mong mal ge kare ge kare makitliol ta dol top durni so wal gora adia to dia hal kita ulang ngani tial tokora climate change nding impact tergid climate change en mergida matlo so ndim la hangal der lil mo kosertial problem e yeta igel problem amatlo ada face so nding ngarngia katigar el belu nding ngarngia igel ku eder mul mosugid deal with the problem of climate change.
For example, you've got a lot of seagrass and mangroves in Palau, and these are really important systems with multiple benefits that they deliver to us, essentially. The likes of mangroves, seagrass and salt marshes, they're really good carbon sponges, so they help store carbon, and that helps to address climate change. They're also really important fisheries nurseries, and they can also help reduce the impacts of storms. So having a mangrove as a buffer or a barrier between the ocean and the land takes a lot of the energy out of the waves which are hitting the shore. And it's been shown that about 100 metres of mangrove can take up to 66% of the wave energy out. So that helps protect property and people through those systems.
ngaringil belal el ngosugi that tel tokra climate change. For example ang malbeto ka ay agid le malbeto ka agabur sergid may agid le seagrass sergid aygal gabur sa seagrass dia kadil ngusugi deleng ngil ngaringia sel important roading aygang malungil reduce ra carbon store carbon aygal gargara kaburs maigal seagrass sabel el ngua carbon da atmosphere diwa de lom engul mestoring ira bdengel engul loliara tial eungela apertakla mumbodia al ngaram lidiul misel telmelela amoge gadi. Not only that, direct aygang ablila mgeril ngigel blila arm direct aygal kabur sawal mal kloa awanda malungil benefit ra kabur sang reduce a wave energy mansel was 100 meters ngara 300 feet ra mangroves as el reduce a wave energy by 60%. Mongwal gora protect igal gabur sa direct help protect tial coastline tial kulablu.
And the protection of coral reefs can also help in a similar way. The coral reef structure also helps reduce the impacts from storms and floodings by reducing that wave energy. They're an important source of food, so very good for food security and providing a buffer from the impacts of climate change. And they're also very good for the economy and for income, primarily through the tourism which they bring into the country.
Igal garger من direct man makluto telele iga direct bilangig provide akal mergi de tia direct el ngosugida igal tora climate change tora food security direct provide protection diwa habursa igal garger direct el provide protection. And then finally direct makluto telel mura economy rablu leng ayagid le togol okya al merbelaw tourist mailen soril me mesaigal kargera ablur belaw.
And in addition, you can continue to look at how traditional farming systems can enhance resilience and help to bolster food security. For example, taro has been found to control erosion, to improve soil health, and to reduce the impacts of sedimentation on those inshore reefs.
Direct said lo mes lo hace ngania igel already kadom grow or kadom rule direct say el ngosugit for example aigal grow like agid le kugaw daita seldo lalma daita edom grow lang mo aygang as el ngungil provide agal mergit digal masya direct help reduce dangit man dia albora daw.
And traditional ecological knowledge and management practices can also provide important solutions, such as the bull for the marine resource management.
Direct seldo mesa tora climate change ngidelo o mesa igel already ngaringirgid ligid olap lo since el ngosugid so abelawa atial tora bull was kada magrang mga mok legal resources rigid ay direct sa el ngosugid ay gidel more legal tora climate change.
I mentioned earlier how the earth is a system, and a ridges to reef approach of managing that watershed as a system can have some real benefits also, and that's by managing that as a system to reduce erosion or to reduce the impacts of flooding as it comes down, so wetlands and swales and some riparian planting can all help reduce the impacts of these big storm events and the impacts they have on fresh water, on food production and on the inshore environment.
Wagel the dilura earlier was a tial blul ada wal system dial dil aigal ngara al sela dial awal connected depend on each other matara mal clothes edrulil gora ngosugi da sel do mesaigal watershed e was ga damgara mangat mokringi el one system leng other liat el gibra blue and el direct mo ngosugi agil guk tial del dubed maigal daw el marand el ngara bitat tiagid el system.
And as well as the impacts from the likes of these storm events, we can look at impacts which are happening through maybe fire and the clearing of land through fire, through roading and some of the disturbance to soil there, and looking how we can use nature to reduce those erosion risks.
Direct says mong ngaring assess bang mal moklo aigal erosion el selbol ulang maigal utum el mal mura garger mal ubang da meluga oriom mong ayagid el sel do mes ayagid el sistema do mes sangrang ayel magrado spe a nature help reduce ayagid el problem.
And I think the one of the key messages around managing in a ridges to reef way is that you do need to look at it as a system, and a solution in one place, you just need to think through what the implications would be in other parts of that system downstream from it or upstream. And it goes across boundaries, I suppose, across administrative boundaries, so it requires this really joined up all of the community approach because the watersheds don't follow those standard administrative boundaries necessarily.
Yam sel do goram rula asagam magram ngat mokrt yagid el gora tora reef to reach and get lo mes lo asen aigal rogul area tial aigal rogul area dependra other areas munggia lo mes asa sum budgut maklang ra tiang magra affect ra ngrang edirek el gia lo mes tial rogil system dia dul lo ase nga akukti mga tmokot tial blue edi aku dasar sel bitang le setara blue mungil legal blue gay waged el mekmak yo mesel lo ase magrada manage tial rogil system leng aigal basiora dial dul ase sego kwanda state mak impact nga hading ating aigal impact aigal butokol gay waged el blue mungil el mokmak aigal blue e uriolo ase magrada longot mok legal area. Okay, so agil adoram lang cover agil waseng ras edel agil some of the things we can do and maybe adora di mo close amrega temed di mo close sengra agil gora agil key message agil gora so adel gora mal gora emphasize the ideas other closer program agil.
Well, I think key messages that even though you're a small country, there is still a lot you can do.
Atara mal gora swadel mo tuli gora mal mo mdera nditiga Lorenzo al chilsa wase. Even though kita gagrel blue mal clo tial problem ra climate change ding ngarnya igel kita so edel remove lo. Dia hada dul wase tia mal clo problem dia ngara kidi tong okle nya togam tamal tu.
And we need to focus on both renewable energy and using nature to tackle climate change.
Esel dom daswa tora climate change egdo spe lo ase gado magrang e ol ngas tel makit liol ending magrado spe tial nature gidel al mosugit. There's caller, so we'll take a call.
Dr. Golbuu ngarngi caller sa bedel mo.
Okay.
Ready. Alim will to talk caller gangara air.
Dear now.
Most of us hang up and we're still trying to connect them hang up. Maybe he'll call back, but we're about to close, so
Yung nga nga time so sugumong sa el mutual call.
Okay.
So you
Color
can continue
coordinates.
and if they call.
All right.
Okay, we'll to talk.
Okay, I'm gonna put you on the air now. Okay.
Okay, we'll to talk color nga ra air.
Oy, gitu tayo ko kami Chinese. Malungil tu tayo ko ka toktang kolbu. Ngil albat ni raw. Malungil la information of love skill. Makakadili ko lome sa telela a global climate change rabulula. Ako may sa yel ases makarbon dioxide blalo to ba yel lakadal rabilit tari rabaligen. Adyal maskogi ma adilegel Sina Maurasya. Billions of carbon dioxide ases sablal. Ngal doktor al sil singar sildura sing ozone rabulula. Yang nga tayo toktang asils amo ngarngi se flare lokto berngi. Musaya moklak klal rabulula. Ako mas sa tetelela climate change ma climate rabulula. Ese the flare asils abi legal effect at tetelela ay rokul communication ng rabulula. Sabi ela klal sige the flare asils ngarngi sel magnet ringi remote mera rabulula to rabulula. Bakti ko to bengi aldo toktang ka mabat ner ka malungi la toksyo. Di ako lugar niya kasi kaya kalil kung mal musulang rablam mal muskiden di tinetaray kal maktol bulula abay maklo carbon dioxide lo to dermi tiyan alala bulula makomi begiran dia kalil bulu hari involve by gal maktol factory bulula ang bulula igan ko di el akar man na warm el bulu ko mi bulwa rapet kita igan maktol buluam na contaminated wala temendian marami. Siya din guswere kung malmusura. Alo, oil, say ako tel highest, tel catastrophe, ula climate, marogul to na balula, amla, contaminated facet funeral, ablula. Kung sulang, may igang hindi mo sige kami, tanga ako man sulang.
Malmusulang koler se direct lual ko malungil el summary tial el datur el alcins lo hace que el bloom dia al clo a contribution el del mortial tel mal di da maclo impact el gida american so aurere la Carla tirgang a Carla focus aurere legal maclo el bloom leng saigi del til aigi del uldaso el gal golea de lilo saigi del maclo el bloom a maclo tel malli ma Carla igel focus already other climate change a omesra ablura asina. What are the main countries?
The main countries
yeah.
which we're focusing on. These are the ones which can make the biggest contribution, and it is China, India, Indonesia, United States, Canada. We're also focusing on the Congo Basin and the Amazon Basin. And this is because these are the ones which have the biggest potential through nature-based solutions.
Oy, so ang Carla na mas aigel blue el aigel dilong a olera kasi aigel got el maklo impact ngi direct sab edel help aigel del blue reduce aigel impact tir. So seguir el dilingel golera o algo samri lo hace umbral gegre aigel maklo blue aigel klola tel mali diesel direct el swad el gora malgorngir tial program gida wase dia albulu lo hace gida dia hangaral se eder mule gadi isura maklo blue kid magda adram gegre el blue nding ari se eder mule dia aldo lo hace gada di dong okle dio ngeng tial problem tial blue la.
Dr. Golbuu ngarngi al mutil one al color. Ali color gangara air.
Oi, kamgring il al-ade. Kamgring il al-ade menang masing. Ito ko lolgot masing tiar climate change am la ko sa igel Asia North Pole mong melt mauna na mo o klado ay bral toy sula.
So, the caller was asking about the melting of the ice, that contributing to the sea level rise.
Yes, so quite right. The melting of those ice caps will be contributing to the sea level rise, and I suppose that's why our focus is that we know we're feeling these impacts now. They're going to continue to get worse if we don't start to shift what's happening, and the only way to shift what's happening is to take more of those greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere, and that's why every effort counts, and those big countries definitely have a huge role to play. But even by taking 1 tonne of carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere in Palau, that's still helping. It's making it better than it would have been if that hadn't have happened. But yes, if those polar ice caps continue to melt, then that will continue to result in sea level rise. The only other bit I'll mention is that there will be a lag in time. So the changes we make now may take a few years to come through to see the benefits of them. But they will come through. It just takes time to show.
وقال صار سيجي السيلور الموغال دبلو of course المرال الموغال تلبلو هذا ما يقال ايس ميلت مثل ميلت نريدو نقول نديرك الكونتريبيوشن المرتي يجي التقول وسمرال مو أربعة بعضهم غارين يجي اللوريول سيدر مول الهيلب من ديال بول سالمو مغال دبلو بقول له الموت المال موتور اللي قال ايسا ميلت es el bebé اللي قال له الدورو لا دعس ادل دي مسا هي الامباكت رينجي هذا المنيل التلقيب التام المومسلين دي عديد اللي مو ران التكيول مو سيسيتيال مقيت اللي قلت دينجي هذا الكونتينيول دي من المول مرو لا قال له
I think this also highlights the inequality of climate change, in that actions which occur in other places have impacts on other parts of the system in the world, and that's what we're seeing through this.
هذيك التيال تقول climate change عشان دي عديل تابسول كده الرجول دي مو experience تقول climate change دين والغورا واسنغاريا بيبي رابلول ماركلوا al contributory غاريا بيبي رابلول وابلا الجيغال contributory دين مال still ماركلوا impact المريني.
For example, that sea level rise will impact more on low-lying countries. Climate change tends to impact more on communities who rely on nature for their food sources through agriculture and fisheries, because they are the ones which are most affected by climate change.
ويجايد البلو الماريو البلو ديال الجديد البلو مال مكلوا إمباكت رنيرا لسير وسي ليفل رايز ما ديرك كرتيجل هذا المال بلول depend على natural resources أي تيجي ديرك المال مكلوا إمباكت تير تورا climate change. You can continue to the.
Okay. And back to some of those key messages. Talking about the use of nature, we know it's a proven method. Nature's been storing carbon for many centuries or millennia. So it's proven and scalable technology.
أديرك الترا غورا key message سأسواد الواسع سيد الوسبي nature. Nature has been there. إقدامس مدنيل وسيجانا أسباب store carbon. من جيرة اليورلايس nature الموسوقي درتيال تغورا climate change.
These solutions are cost effective and readily available.
هذا وسبي تغورا nature المسيرجيد إن cost effective وندي عن سالمرين الأرال كلها benefits رنين available مرجيد.
And when they're applied, they address climate, but they also support biodiversity and healthy, thriving ecosystems.
السلسلة مدوس بقى يجيد النيتشر based solution تغورا nature إن موسوقي ده تغورا climate change دين ديرك الموسوقي ده تغورا biodiversity help لقال بتغل الأرم مع عار اللي depend لقال nature جيد.
And they promote the regeneration and the resilience of those ecosystems to withstand shock from climate change.
direct los be nature solutions en mosugid mosugid deal with the shock or the maclol impact ra climate change.
And in closing, 2 comments. We know that healthy communities rely on healthy natural systems.
Kadam dengel wasagel al suguma igal community sirgida mongil basul mo healthy engirel healthy igal tial ecosystem tial basiol gida kirengi al sugum kadam mo healthy engirel tial basiol gida kirengi healthy.
And because of the multiple benefits that come out of those systems, we know that investing in nature today is one of the wisest things we can do for our future.
Because employ the benefit del gida mara nature, kadam dengel wasasum kad investor el all time ra tial nature gid en maklo benefit del bodongur tial maral mel igal maral matad al time maral mel. So dimle gid agel ku koramle no suedel kor o ais mera adra blum tigel loren sergidra el alchils suadel di orang asulir arbekla del no sobril cho energid tial el alto tower tial program rigid tial lobisra the nature conservancy ang aringi ngara core reef center ngaringi gagid luror el gida matmoklo ng ser adra blum malsum ngora mo ngaringi agora soril information ra adamlay or kora soril kora discuss was ka makarang ay sa audio ra kadama open el moral bekla adel mo me obis en gal carla ading artiar el alwige momrael anding ngay selul goringira earlier was tiang one conservancy man sab edel kora abod kora uspe el ngora ngisungin sa edel askar ngi mo direct kal ngosugit ngaman nom saul no sub el sueb gara New Zealand el merbelaw ngukul ng sergi der tegi del ora raise awareness ra tawra climate change elango como moral ding sa edel continue realize ngi el sum ngora ngari ngarang ora nga sulir bekla de manom saul tadakar el altutam sulang.